Hello, smart people. Welcome to another special edition of Witty Conversations with Mpho. So today we have a very special guest. He's a very smart person, incredible person, and I'm glad to welcome him to our special sessions of Witty Conversations with Mpho. And today's guest is our good friend Ria. Hey Ria, thank you for coming and blessing us with your presence for today. Can you give us a brief introduction of who you are and what you do?
Well, my name is Rialivhuwa Ratshinanga. I'm from Limpopo. I'm Venda from a village called Matanda Village. Currently, I'm doing my master's in paleontology, focusing on anthropology, specifically the earliest modern human evolution here in southern Africa.
That is very interesting. Why did you choose to study that particularly?
Well, it wasn't, I didn't come to university specifically saying, I'm going to go to do paleontology. I just came here, I was like, I want to do biology. Everything that has to do with biology. And just naturally, starting in first year, I found I liked anatomy. When we did the anatomy part in biology, I liked that the most. Second year, I got to choose what I could do. I could do animal form and function. I did anatomy. I did biotic diversity. So learned about the anatomy of animals, how they work, how they grow, how they move, and how they do the things you do. Like you see a monkey going across the canopy, you're like, how is it doing that? I really want to know, and through anatomy, through these animal form and function, I got to learn that. And just naturally, in my third year, I took this course in paleontology. And I really enjoyed it. And my current supervisor came up to me actually in third year and said, you seem to be very interested and invested in this. Do you want to continue with it? And I was like, yeah.
Okay, cool. That's really a really cool story. So, can you tell us a bit about what paleontology is in general?
Well, in general, when most people hear paleontology, they think dinosaurs,
Mm-hmm.
which is one aspect of paleontology, but it's very broad. We have specific sections when you look at geological timescale, I'm pretty sure you know this from astrological timescales.
Yeah,
We like to break it down into periods.
sure.
So depending on what the person is doing, the paleontology may be different.
I see.
I focused on a period of time called the Middle Stone Age. It's between like 300,000 years ago
Mm-hmm.
to like 50,000 years ago.
Okay.
So that specific period, and I do anthropology there, specifically human behavior, the evolution of human behaviors, human traditions, languages, that's
Nice,
type of thing.
nice. Okay, that's really cool. And why that specific period? I mean, as I said, people think of as paleontology,
Oh yeah.
dinosaurs. I'm thinking, like dinosaurs, what a T-Rex does, and why did you choose specifically that?
I was interested in doing that, but when like I said, in my third year, I did that paleontology class.
Yeah.
We did dinosaurs, we did synapsids, we did all these things. But when I got to humans, I was like, it's so interesting because humans are the most we're animals, but we're the most weird animals in the world.
Yes.
So learning about like in that period of time, the Middle Stone Age. That's a very short period of time, geologically speaking.
Yeah.
But humans go from not knowing how to do any most stuff to being capable of hunting
Yes.
large animals, coming up with culture, art,
Yeah.
making tools, arrows, these types of things
Yes.
in a short period of time, especially here in South Africa. Like here in Southern Africa, that is one of the meccas of early human evolution in the world.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, we've heard of the theory that men evolved from Africa, and as you said, like Southern Africa specifically. This is. I just want to find out more about humans. What does a human mean from an evolutionary perspective?
That's a great question. Well, it depends. With us, it's usually the brain capacity. Like our brain capacity is, I forgot the specific number, but it's quite higher than most other primates or apes that we see.
Yeah.
So if you look at Homo erectus, things that you probably heard, Australopithecines,
Yes.
those types of things, their brain cases and their brain capacity is much smaller than ours.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing is limb proportions. Our hands and legs are proportionally
Yeah.
very close to in length.
Yeah.
That's a human thing. That's an adaptation to bipedalism. But
Nice.
yeah,
That's
something to be truly human is how bipedal you are, your brain case, and your limb proportions.
right. So I've been reading the book Sapiens, and just wanted to ask, you know, so in the book, like it talks about the brief history of humankind, from humans, the different types of humans, right? So we have, you should know this better, I guess, but we have Homo sapiens, the Neanderthals, and can you explain more about the different types of humans or sapiens, and then
Oh yeah. So the misconception is evolution was linear. It was like Homo erectus, then this, then Neanderthals, then humans. But
yeah,
what most people don't understand is these things lived concurrently with each other at the same time. So humans were interacting with Neanderthals. If you actually look at people who are from Europe and Asia, a lot of them have Neanderthal DNA in their lineage. While Southern African people like us who have not interacted with people from there, we do not have those genes
that's very cool.
because that's an inter-species movement of genes.
Yeah. So I mean, you mentioned this, and the book also mentioned this. Like, we lived, like at the same timeline as these other forms of humans, right? So how did it happen? Why are we the only ones left?
Now that's the huge mystery,
Yeah.
because the only difference that we really see is the brain case. Like I mentioned, we have bigger brains.
Yeah.
Another theory that's popular is just we were the most well adapted.
Yeah.
Like we were bigger than most other humans that came before in terms of stature, size, and our ability. Like humans are built. You know that humans are the best like distance running animals in the world.
Is it? I
Like
did not know that.
like you see these marathons that we run. Most animals can't do that.
Oh.
Can't do those marathon
Yeah.
runs. So humans are evolved. Like that's why people were hunter gatherers. If you look at Khoisan people, when they hunt, they just chase an animal down until it's tired.
Yeah.
Because even if it's faster in a short distance,
Yeah.
if I chase you for an hour, you're gonna get tired before
Yeah.
I do. So our physique. So that's another thing. Another thing that's been brought up is what we would likely occupy the same niche as early humans, and we just outcompeted them.
Yeah.
There were periods of interactions with them, but it's more likely it was violent, where we just take over territory and it's ours, and because we're bigger,
Yeah.
we're stronger, smarter.
Yep. Makes perfect sense. So I want to know, like, for you, do you said you wanted to study biology and stuff when you got here. Like, what is it about biology that interested you, like, to that extent that you needed to study this?
It was understandable. Like the best way I can say it's understandable. Like I did math. I could do it. I never felt I fully understood it. Like, and the weird thing is, you did physics. I understood physics. I love physics. I understand it and I can do it.
Yeah.
I get a distinction in physics, which I did. Like in undergrad, got a distinction in physics. Just got a 16 maths because like it doesn't maths.
Yeah.
Does nothing to me.
Yeah, I see.
Chemistry, same thing. But biology, I'm always interested in learning whether it's an animal, whether it's a plant, whether it's an insect.
Yeah.
Microscopic. It is always interesting to me because it just shows you how interesting life is. Like the weird forms it can take, the weird relationships that occur between things you don't even think. There's relationships that keep the environment you're in and ecosystems thriving the way they do.
Would you say maybe like your where you grew up, maybe did it influence you into making that decision? You speak about life and stuff like that, and I'm sure you must have been a nature person growing up. Is it possible?
Well, yes, growing up in the village, like nature was just around you.
Yeah.
Like you'd see, those mongooses running across, like you'd see birds, like sometimes you'd go play up in the mountains, then you'd be actually in like the bush, woodland, savannah type area.
Yeah.
So I was always interested in that. But I think my passion for it grew from just watching TV. I would watch these National Geographics, all these things, and I'm like, it would be so cool to do that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That is true. I think we all, we grew up watching all these things, and it's really amazing, and it's really incredible what's, like the lessons we can take away from your study. Probably, as I said, *Sapiens* is probably one of the best books I've read, and I want to know more. I want you.
As you showed me a brief, like in the back, they also go into specifics about like fire farming,
Yes,
and like yeah, these like fire. Most people don't know, like South Africa is one of the earliest evidences of human using fire. This place called Border Cave.
Okay.
It's like one of like the most concrete early evidences that humans were continually manipulating fire we have in the world.
That's really cool. You speak about caves and sites. What sites have you visited before?
Now, right now, I'm working on a site called Glasses River Main Site. It's along the Glasses River in the Eastern Cape of South Africa. Now, it's a Middle Stone Age site. Like, it's one of the oldest with evidence of like actual human remains. Like, human remains were discovered there.
Yeah.
So it's like we know humans were staying there. We also have human materials like stone tools, ornaments. They had seashells, necklaces, that type of thing, and as well as the animals, the bones they ate, the depositions they had.
And these materials, and say these bones and fossils and whatever, how far do they date back? If do you know?
It depends. There's like several layers. Personally, I'm looking at a period between 110 and 100,000 years ago. So it's like 10,000, but it's like over 40 layers that encapsulates that entire period. Just show you like how much composition is there.
That's very, very interesting. And in terms of like going deep again into the content we were talking about, we humans, like we harnessed fire, and we evolved, into apex predators, if you might say, into such a point that we are the top of the world, I guess, if you want to put it that way. What gave us like that advantage? More specifically, we know the brain power was there, but there must have been something more, right?
There was, because I wouldn't say humans are apex predators. They're more ecosystem engineers or keystone species. In biology, there's this term, a keystone species. That's a species that, by its behavior, it changes the environment around it, like a beaver. Beavers build dams. The act of it building that dam, it changes the ecosystem because now there's a lake. Other animals like it. So the same thing with humans. We didn't dominate just because like we're the best at hunting. I think we dominated because we can change our environment. And one of the biggest things is with tools. Like stone tools are the thing that changed because it made life so much easier. Hunting becomes easier. Now you can attack an animal that's bigger than you even though you don't have the tools you need. A hunt becomes easier if you can make a spear and you throw it at an animal. Now the hunt becomes easy instead of you just trying to chase it down and tackle it down to the ground.
That is true. And last time I spoke to in our Witty Conversations we had now was in linguistics, and he had a different like material or source material in terms of like the language. Did language play a barrier or an effect into like us being the way we are right now?
I think the general consensus is somewhere between 115,000 years ago and 150,000 years ago language started, right?
Okay.
Because around that period is when there's an explosion in human, like the things humans did, it just became wow. We went from all right, cool, to now we're making more tools, we're making fires, we're making complex things. And hunting, especially with hunting, like you find a site with this thing called an extinct giant buffalo, right? It's over a ton, like the size of a rhino. That's or something. People hunted it. One person can't do that. That means it's a group of people that needs planning. And
it's a sense of community.
So it's it's believed in those situations, language, that's where language developed. Because the earliest known humans, they had the capability of it. Like, it's just language is something learned. Like, if you take a child and you don't teach them how to talk, they won't know how to speak.
Yes.
So it's like the language barrier is, it doesn't preserve because no one was writing it down. But we just imagine that it's probably just over time, just there. You're like, okay, there.
Yeah.
So now we build a repertoire, because that's how language works. We'll build a decorum, like we have specific names for specific things. You probably have landmarks like mountain, like you'll have specific landmarks, those words just stick. But it takes a while for that language to build, and it's probably language. A lot of languages probably started, changed, stopped. Like, let's say you learned how to speak. You're in a group, maybe you have a group of 15 people, you die because of a disease or something like that.
Sure.
That language you guys had is gone. So it's probably have developed multiple times that people came together. And
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That is incredible. And from there, as you said, like we started, developing like more knowledge about reality, about our environment, and we could share the information to the next gen, and so forth and so forth. I want to delve into, I don't know if you studied this, the era of farming.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, how did it influence, again, the evolution of men?
It's a funny thing. In anthropology, most people say farming was the worst thing that happened to humans.
Is it?
Yes.
That's interesting.
Because here's the thing, if you look right now today, a normal person works more than a hunter-gatherer used to work 100,000 years ago. Why? Because we build an environment, because farming, okay, it starts off easy. You farm, you make more, you have more food, right? Cool. But now somebody can hoard that food and be like, I set a price on it. Now you have to buy it.
Yeah.
So that's where it helped build community civilizations with the farming, because now you have surplus foods, people have time to do other things.
Yeah.
It's just over time, you just need to keep doing it more to keep surviving, and it just takes up so much time, destroys your environment, because farming, like, it is one of the biggest greenhouse gas emitters.
Yeah.
So it destroys your environment. It takes a lot of resources out of you.
Yeah.
You need to protect it from other people who might try to steal. So
That's true.
that's why a lot of people say farming was the downfall of humans, but it's also the reason we are right now. Because
That's so cool. What is the biggest distinction between, you said like farming, and compared to the early people? What is the biggest distinction between, technology has evolved, and, like life got better, we are able to live longer because of health and medicine and stuff like that. But what is the biggest distinction between now, like evolutionary speaking, and early humans, since you've looked at, the past and the present?
Oh, there haven't been much differences. Like we talked about fire, right?
Yeah.
The evidence of fire use is seen in our teeth, and it's also fun, but fire especially. When the moment you start cooking, we started cooking food. We had to choose less. Like, if you see people, most people, that's why they have to have their wisdom teeth removed, because our mouths became smaller, because just over thousands of generations it became, there is no need to have a giant mouth, because your food is already cooked, it's soft, it's prepared.
That's true.
So, and those things like teeth and those types of things, those are affected by daily things. If you eat, if you're not using your teeth, that's why if you see people who've lost teeth, their gums start to reduce, because they're not using those teeth. So it's like things like that. Farming, it's more of a language. We believe language, that's when language really took off.
Yeah.
We believe until farming happened, language was very simple.
Yeah.
Simple words. Like, you'd be like, you can either have one, two, or many things.
Yes.
Like no complex things, no complex colors. It's just that place, this place. But in a farming, now you have to keep track of things. How many plants did we plant?
Yeah.
When are we harvesting? Are we selling it to anyone? Are we trading? That's where now you have to come up with writing, come up with numbers. So if you look at the earliest instances of writing, this types of thing. It's in the early civilization, the Indo Valley civilization, the Egyptian civilizations. Yeah.
And physically speaking, we've seen, Homo naledi or standard custody and so forth and so on. Like physiologically speaking, they are, you can almost see the evolution of men, brains becoming bigger and stuff like that. Are there any other features that you guys speculate that might have been there that we do not have right now, physiologically speaking?
Physiologically,
Yeah.
well, that's harder to do because physiological reactions don't firstlize well. We have the morphological, like we can see, like just physically there was a difference.
Yeah.
Physiologically, we could assume that humans are better at thermoregulation because we are, like, if you remember the running thing I've mentioned, like a great reason we can do that because our thermoregulation is great. We have less hair. Like those are the physiological, like we have less hair, so we sweat more, but we get that helps us stay cooler for longer. So it's there seems to have just been a transition in the human lineage towards the form we are in right now. These upright individuals who can maintain sustained running and physical activity.
I see.
Like that's why we can play these sports, all these things. Like humans can maintain a high rate of physical activity for extended periods of time, and that is likely one of the best reasons we were so dominant, because you have the energy to hunt, you have the energy to do just menial things, and you have also the dexterity because of our fingers, our arms. You have the dexterity to do complex things. You have the cognitive ability to now comprehend doing complex things.
And I mean, I know you study the past, but I want to look into the future now. Like how do you think, I mean, already we have I guess different shapes, and because of technology, humans, as I said, are able to live a bit longer now, and some people speculate that the next step of human evolution is bionic. It's almost like bionic, where part man, part machine. Because machines are assisting us with a lot of things. How do you see the next step of evolution looking like in your head?
Well, the thing is, our evolution is already happening. If you look at humans, there's still changes that are going on right now, like the teeth I mentioned. We see there's just a distinctive loss of the wisdom teeth, the last molars to come up. People are not going to have those. In terms of bionic, that's difficult because it requires development in robotics, because like if you're going to have a bionic thing like that, like if you've probably seen those robots they build to, like that dog,
the Boston Dynamics.
It takes so much technological advancements just to get there, that to move to human and machine, it's gonna be hard, because now you still need to know, if I put it in a human, how is your body going to respond to that? Because your body needs to not fight off that foreign body within it. So it's I would require actually someone who does kinesthetics. I think they would understand, maybe people who are more into it, because the most I've done is just looking at how people move and seeing if you can get a robot to mimic them. Now, like to build exoskeletons especially. So if you they put sensors on your body and see how you work. Now you can put an exoskeleton. They want to do it for soldiers. Like you put an exoskeleton, now a soldier can fight, do more things. Like if they are hurt, the exoskeleton can now carry them because it knows the motions.
Okay. Wow, this has been a very insightful discussion.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I just wanted to find out, for what are the next steps for Rhea right now, like MSc students. What's next for you?
Right now I'm just focusing on completing my MSc. Next year, I'm still thinking like I could do my PhD or I could get a job.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing I'm struggling with because I enjoy doing my research. It's fun. Like every day I'm learning things. You have to read up on new discoveries, and I look at my stuff, and I every day I look at it a different way, and I see, you start to see things like, oh, okay, that. So right now the plan is just finish the MSc, get your qualification. Then next year we start to focus on, are we going for that PhD or are we getting the job first?
Yes, that's cool. So, what type of jobs like would someone in your field be looking at?
Well, a thing I did in my undergrad was I made because I could choose what courses I want to do. I made it as diverse as possible. So I've done some part-time work as environmental consultant, assisting because I did that part of biology as well.
Yeah.
I've gone to museums, worked in the Ditzon collection to do, along with my research, just studying the specimens they have there, comparing it to my fossils. So I could work in a museum. I've done teaching here at Vets. I'm a TA. I teach people, so
That's cool.
there's always academia route. I'm also interested in like just conservation, but in heritage sites, because like the place I'm looking at is a World Heritage Site.
Yeah.
And South Africa has a lot of these places that are just not focused. So I like to work in that field as well. But specifically, academia isn't the thing because I've always enjoyed academia. I'm a research person.
Me too.
I enjoyed that,
Yeah.
the grind of it.
Yeah, no, me too, definitely. And so, I mean, there's kids watching, they aspire to become anthropologists or paleontologists. What advice do you have for the young ones watching for us?
I always say, just keep your possibilities as open as possible. Like, don't just, because most people paleontology dinosaurs. Like, yes, dinosaurs are cool. I'll be the first to tell you, they're very cool.
They're very cool, guys.
Like, but you have to look at also the things like in your area, like here in South Africa. I choose humans because humans are a huge part, and that's underrepresented. In your country, it might be dinosaurs. In your country, it might be other animals. Like this period of time that we're looking at, the Male Stone Age.
Yeah.
In a lot of places in Southern Africa, these places aren't looked at, and it's likely they are just as important in South Africa.
Yes.
It's just South Africa. It's just there's been more focus on it because there'll be more fossils found, like Naledi, these fossils.
Yeah.
So I'd tell kids like just take a quick time, like 30 minutes on Google, and be like anthropological sites in my area, or maybe just important paleological sites in my area, like or fields that are impactful.
Yeah.
So you can see what you like, what works for you, because another thing is what you study isn't exactly what you're gonna do. What you study should actually more facilitate you to do a lot more things, a plethora of things. Like with me, what I did was I wasn't saying I'm going to do a paleontologist. I said I'm going to be a biologist who understands anatomy, biodiversity, and conservation, as well as evolution. And those things just came together in paleontology, and I enjoy that. And that's just natural. If you will find your way, trust me. That's what I would tell.
That's beautiful.
Someone.
That's beautiful. We don't need to go further than this. I think this has been very insightful. This has been very interesting, and I'd like to thank you for being another special guest in our very special show, Witty Conversations with Mpho. And
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.